For the final update to the finals beta, they buffed every weapon. I mean, they did some other stuff too, but just look at this list of all the guns. Literally an adjustment to almost every gun in the game. This will still be important in the next beta, whether it's open and closed. I'm sure we'll see any patch notes for any further adjustments they've made. But as of right now, this is the state of every gun in the game. Just to start with some of the smaller bug and balance fixes that they took care of. Fix some animation, some audio, fix some character clipping and clothing interactions. They continued to improve on the Gravity Glove's ability to pick things up. Added a Diamond League to the ranking system for all of you sweats out there. UI fixes, tuned those muzzle flash effects on some guns. Lowered respawn from 25 seconds to 20 seconds for cash out mode. And then we saw some adjustments to some abilities and gadgets. Namely the cloak ability getting new audio when in use and volume adjustments based on the movement speed, and a new exit and entry audio. I did notice this a little bit when I was playing, that it was, I think the entry and exit was both more noticeable when you used it and when you would hear it from other players. Slight nerf to the heavy contestant lost 25 HP, down to 325 from 350. Speaking of the heavy, the dome shield got a bit of a nerf. It reduced the radius by 25%. They did increase the friction and reduce the bounce to make dome shields easier to place, but they removed the ability to pick them up. That was I think there was a huge advantage to the dome shield when it was there, and I could see where maybe that's a little bit too useful. And it fixed an issue where they could knock over or push cash out stations. The defibrillators also got a nerf, reduced the health given by 50%, so your teammates are waking up, coming back with half this health that they were originally, which makes it worthwhile to run the healing loadout that I talk about in this video. And explosive mines fixed an issue where the spectator cameras could detonate the mines and increase the mine environmental damage from 550 to 1025. Effectively almost doubling the damage they do to the environment. Liftables oil barrel environmental damage got a buff from 550 to 2050. And then the weapon buffs. Like I said, a lot of them. Just look at the list. I didn't count it exactly, but I do think it's nearly every weapon in the game. Starting with the 30-06 sniper, fixed an issue where the crosshair of the sniper scope could twitch. Not something you want out of your sniper scope. AK got an increased magazine size from 30 to 36. A buff I'm not sure that gun needed, but all the better for it. Flamethrower reduced the flamethrower reload time from 4 seconds to 3.5 seconds. The LH1 increased that magazine size from 10 to 20. Not sure it needed that either. The M32 grenade launcher, that's the heavy's grenade launcher, reduced that reload time from 3.5 seconds to 3.1 seconds. The M60 reduced that reload time from 4 seconds to 3.5 seconds. The M11 increased magazine size from 32 to 40. That's the SMG that the light contestant uses. The pump action grenade launcher, that's the medium contestant's grenade launcher, reduced that manual action reload duration by 20%. Weird that that's given in percentage and not time. Repeater shotgun decreased bullet dispersion size, so I suppose increasing the accuracy of the damage. In my opinion, repeater needed a bigger buff than this. Even the gun just not as viable. Feels like it should be. Riot shield increased the riot shield damage from 60 to 68. Little buff there. SA-1216 shotgun, the heavy's shotgun, decreased the bullet dispersion size on that as well. So again, with those concentrating that area, so they're more likely to do more damage. Then buffs to a couple melee weapons, namely the sledgehammer, increasing the damage from 130 to 145, pretty significant. And then increased the environmental damage from 550 to 685. I think makes sense. It's what the sledgehammer is for. The sword also got a damage increase from 45 to 74, which I think is huge. I didn't get to play around with that as much during the beta, but I think I definitely died to the sword after that buff. So thanks, Bark. Then last but not least, the V9S increased the magazine size from 18 to 24. That is the silenced pistol on the light contestant, I believe. These buffs really surprised me just because of the amount of them and the significance of a lot of them. Like, you think about the light contestants SMG and pistol certainly don't feel weak. Same with the AK. Those 6 extra bullets, I think, make a huge difference on that gun. I had one of my best games of the entire beta with the AK. There was one final patch after this where the LH1 magazine, they took that down to 15 from that 20 increase, and it ended up with a couple other nerfs, namely increased the bullet dispersion from hip fire when crouching, increased the recoil slightly, and decreased the recoil recovery speed slightly. So the LH1 ended up with a bit of the nerf. Every other gun in the game buffed. Like I said in the beginning of the video, once we see that next closed or open beta, whichever we end up getting, these are likely going to be the values and stats for the guns going into that. And by the end of the beta, I think a lot of the guns, the good guns felt good. There are other guns that just still weren't viable. I'd love to see maybe melee weapons get added in as gadgets instead that have a cooldown after you get to use them. And I would like to see guns like the repeater and maybe even the grenade launchers get a little more love to make them more viable. Right now, I feel like there's a few too many guns that just lose out to some of the main staples for each contestant. So I'm interested to see how this changes next, but we're gonna have to wait on that. For now, this was another great update to see in the beta. I think they did a great job throughout. Like I say in another video, not only was it a surprisingly long beta, but there was a surprising amount of work that went into the whole thing. So hopefully that means good things for the future, but to find that out, we'll have to wait a bit. Until then, the defibrillator also caught a nerf. The reduced health given. I guess I should just say the defib.